Good evening and welcome to the Mutant Apocalypse. It is time for another deep dive into this wonderful game. And the more people I talk about it, the more people tell me just what a great game it is. So I guess I gotta try it. Now, as we know, this game is not a Mad Max post-Holocaust. This one is. This is a Gamma World Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff. So I wanted to see if there was like recommended movies, that would be appropriate for this game, but it doesn't have that. It goes straight from the world building to the appendix, so there's no like recommended viewing, recommended whatever. The world building is huge. I mean, just huge. The Game Master section, which has the suggested monsters and the world building, the suggested equipment, is huge. But I thought we'd take our last bit to look at character creation and how do you build a mutant in this wonderful world. So the stats for Year Zero, as we know from Tales from the Loop, are, and they're a little jiggered, obviously, for this game, a little bit more, post-apocalypse-y, are strength, agility, wits, and empathy. And then we have the conditions and the substats. You get 10 points to divide amongst strength, agility, wits, and empathy. 2 is the minimum. I mean, I suppose you could have 1. But 2 is the minimum, and 4 is the maximum, except for the prime stat for your archetype. So this does have archetypes like Tales from the Loop did. And there are things like the Fixer, the Stalker, the Thug, the Boss, the Enforcer, the guy with the dog, the guy who can fix things, the guy who writes everything down, the guy who just does all the heavy lifting, the driver, the stuff we would see in the movie. So every one of those has a key stat. So like for the grunt instead, strength, bleh, and that one can go up to 5. So all the other stats max out at 4, except for the key stat for your class archetype is 5. Now there's a few archetypes in here, and obviously the splat books and the expansions have more archetypes, just like they have more mutations and more alternatives. There's actually a all robot version of Mutant Year Zero, sort of a Wall-E future called I think Mecha Year Zero or Mechton Year Zero. And it's basically the same world, but robots have taken over instead of humans. And so, robots will be different. And so you have a key attribute for like the strength, and then you have a specialist skill, which is the one thing you can do that nobody else can do. So like the specialist skill for the grunt is shake it off. Da-da-da, shake it off. You get 14 points to divide amongst your skills. Which we are endure, force, fight, sneak, move, shoot, scout, comprehend, know the zone, sense of motion, manipulation, heal. And, you could throw in other ones if you wanted to. See, there are blank spots for game-specific skills. You get 14s for those, and obviously each archetype has recommended skills. Like for this guy, he's got 3 talents that they can also have, and talents are sort of like super skills. And like this guy's talents are Bone Saw, Agitator, and Performer, and you can only pick one. Those are described on Chapter 4 about what they can do. And then, of course, you draw your mutation. Now, as we talked about in the previous thing, this thing is card and dice based. So the mutation deck, you got the gear deck, and you've got the action deck, or the trouble deck, whatever you want to call it. And then you have the dice. Now, any dice could use. You don't need the specific dice. They just recommend that if you're going to use, 3 separate different sets of colors for dice, then the tables in the book that reflect the draws from the deck. The mutations are on a D66 table, which I was like, what is that? But basically, it's their version of percentile. So once you roll 2 6-siders, 1 6-sider is the 10, 1 6-sider is the 1, giving you a range from 11 to double sixes, 66. So the D66. Why? Because I wanted to keep it in the 6-sider, because it's all 6-siders in this game, And, you know, that was the best way they could come up with the percentile system, I guess. 11 through 66. The mutations exist. You pick one or roll one. You can have two, but if you take two, then you sacrifice a point from one of your stats. So that 2 could become a 1. So if you want to sacrifice for powers, then you're risking stuff like that. And there's a chance that always the powers can go a little wacko. Which is why when you're drawing from the deck during the game, things that can happen, and you can get like trauma, the powers can go a little wild surgy, whatever. But again, after reading this and after talking to this, obviously mutations do play a heavy part of it in it, especially as it ties into the video game and the other expansions, which give you more mutations and more backgrounds. Could you run an Atomic Highway Mad Max style game using this game? Take out the mutations, just make everybody human, just use the existing archetypes or add some more archetypes and make it like similar to this. And since the systems are so similar, both D6 systems, you could, you know, compare and contrast and use both to make a post-apocalypse world, and I think it would be really great because the V6 system and this system are similar but different. So if you're familiar with the system, we talked about it in Tales from the Loop. You get a lot of D6s. You know, so like we said, your stats are 2 to 4. That's how many dice you're rolling. And then your skill, you can add more dice, and then gear let you add more dice. So you can be rolling like 6, 8, 10 six-sided dices. But all that matters is that 6, or that little nuclear sign, that one success, because 6 is a success. Every other number is just doesn't matter. Now there are little ways to move the dice, push it, stuff like that, but really it's just 6. And then if you get a second 6 and a third 6 and a fourth 6, then you can add special effects. Then you can add things like, double 6s, you knock the gun out of his hand. Triple 6s, you cripple him for life, whatever. Triple 6s, you get a really cool find from the gear pile and you find a lightsaber or a death grenade. But again, it's just 6s. So really, one success. So a guy with 2d6 has the same chances of rolling a 6 as a guy with 66, because 6, even if you're rolling 66, the percentage chance of you getting that 6 is like whatever. So that's the basics. This is heavy lore, light system, like all their products. The art, obviously, nowhere near as amazing as the Tales from the Loop art, but very similar, that very bleak, dark, grays and blacks, and just this is the apocalypse and the world is just bleh. So obviously it's not as grim as Mach Borg, but still, and then of course I'm a person and I've got fly wings and a claw, because why not? I don't know. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So there we go. That's a final look at this wonderful game. What I like about it, almost everything. The mutations are a little weird. They seem very random. And obviously that's not as crazy as like the D1000 table from Marvel or Gamma World. But, you've got like... they're just sort of all over the place and they don't really fit a theme. But obviously there are other books with more mutations to add to the table, just like there's other books out there that have more of the archetypes. The archetypes seem pretty generic. I don't know if you really need them. You could probably just build your own characters and just, pick one and whatever, and just bleh. But the archetypes like Enforcer and Grunt and just feel easier, and it just makes it so you can make a really quick character and be off and running into the apocalypse. It's a little big. It's definitely a little big. It is definitely lore heavy. And if you did not want to run this apocalypse, well, then you're at a loss, because it doesn't really give you a lot of rules for design your own apocalypse. This one is a little bit more generic. This just bombs drop, cars, roofing nails, petrol. This one takes liberously from the video game in that the currency is bullets. Everything costs bullets. Sound familiar? Isn't there something where everything costs soda bottle caps? But in the future, what would the monetary unit be when money is useless? I mean, it would either be bullets or gas or things you could actually use, cans of food, quarters to operate the food machine, whatever. I don't know. So yeah, currency is bullets. Every character starts with some starting gear. Every character starts with a starting special ability. Every character starts with a number of bullets they can go spend at the store. And then you're off doing everything for the arc. Now, the other big thing about this game is the arc phase, the Kingmaker phase. At the end of every session, you come back to the arc and you see how you contributed to the arcs. At the beginning of every section, you say, this section of the game we're working on building up the arc's defenses, or increasing trade with our arc and another arc, or disrupting the current political regime of the arc, or trying to fix the radio antenna. So every session you lay out what the goal for the arc is. Then you do the individual player character stuff, the team player character stuff, and then at the end of the session you also resolve whether everything you did during the session helped the arc phase or not. So, and as the arc gets bigger and gets more points, there's more things the arc can do, there's more things the arc can produce, there's more advantages your characters get. Another interesting thing about this is experience, because 5 is the most you can have in any stat and or skill. So rolling 10 dice is the max. Experience can either be group or individual. So that's very interesting, because even though the groups end up working together, whoever shines the most might get the lion's share of the experience that game, or it might just all be evenly divided between the group, and you never know how the experience finger, I don't know what I'm saying, is going to lay. The DM, obviously, the storyteller has to tell you, this is going to be group experience, this is going to be individual experience, whatever. And then part of that is then again cycled back to the arc. So the world building, arc building, getting your arc bigger, getting your arc more successful, getting your arc more progressive, and then risking your arc getting destroyed. Oh no, you open that locked door and radiation and zombies, because why not? That's interesting. I like that. Again, a little thick at 200 some odd pages, 300 almost pages, when this game does pretty much the exact same thing for 30 pages. Which one do I like more? I like them both the same. Obviously, I've got a little hard on for Free League Publishing because of Tales from the Loop, because of Mork Borg, because of Aliens, because of just everything this company's doing just seems to be right. And because I'm in my I still fucking hate 5th edition D&D phase, that, and my most recent experience with D&D is just, again, cemented. I really just do not like 5th edition D&D. So, yeah. Check it out. It's hard to find because it's currently in print, but not in America. It's only in print right now through the Swedish branch of Free League Morpheus Publishing. So you can get it. You can get it through Amazon, but it'll take a while, or you can get it direct to print from the website through drive-thru. But again, you're going to have to wait a while. Definitely like this game. Definitely would love to get a chance to play either of them, both of them. I would love to do some Mutant Highway, Atomic Horror, whatever. So yeah, check them out. Definitely appreciate them. Glad I bought them. If you want to see me review more games, why don't you take a moment and think about supporting me? Because the only way I can get these games is if that money comes out of my pocket until people start sending them to me. And so if you're feeling generous for the holidays, toss me a quarter. Toss a coin to your Witcher. I will see you in the apocalypse. Grumpy GM signing off. Catch you later, losers.